A man only regrets that the mistress he picked turned out to be more trouble than she was worth. That he didn't lie to his wife more smoothly. He never looks at her tears, at her falling apart, and feels remorse for having wounded a woman. I had a family, almost perfect, just slightly cracked. I abandoned my woman. Turns out I was the one who got played. The real idiot. She was yanking fistfuls of her own hair, screaming and sobbing. The floor she usually dragged a mop across until midnight, now littered with shards and scraps. The bathroom door stood ajar. The trash can that still looked brand new after years lay on its side. A few crumpled, soiled wads of tissue paper scattered beside it. When she got no answer out of me, she turned to venomous curses. This morning she had simply asked whether I felt like noodles or congee. My fingers shook as I lit the last cigarette. Through the swirling smoke her face twisted even further. I exhaled, as if forcing the final sludge from my lungs. Finally, it could end. Give me your hand. I froze halfway out of bed and studied the woman in front of me. We'd spent a loud, sweaty night under the sheets. Only now did I actually look at her face. Up-tilted brows, thick lips, not the approachable type, plus a beauty mark smack under her nose. Last night, I must have been blind drunk. I hadn't noticed a thing. Instinctively, I reached toward the nightstand for a cigarette and found nothing. Hand. Come on, she urged again. Voice soft. Nothing like the sharpness of those features. A few strands of hair slid forward. She brushed them back without care. A bright red shoulder strap slipped down, and she didn't seem to notice. But now that I'd seen her clearly, the mood was shot. I rose lazily. I just wanted out. Hey, your hand's bleeding, she called again. I turned. She was holding out a band-aid. That was the first time I met Heidi. She worked in service. Fairly professional. I was her customer. I had a wife. So while Heidi bent her head to stick the band-aid on me, I thought of that woman. Sometimes she was gentle too. Just like Heidi was right then. But her hands were rougher than a man's. Forever soaked in dishwater. Shriveled like a radish left out to dry. I jerked my hand back. Heidi looked up, puzzled. What's wrong? You've got nice hands. I kept my voice flat. Only I knew something inside me had started to crack. I got off work early today and hovered outside the door like a stalker. I'd long since grown sick of the polite greetings required the moment I stepped inside. Only Linda still enjoyed them. Linda, my wife. She used to have beautiful hands. She could pluck a few simple tunes on the lute. Sterling made her learn in grade school. I was told she'd only skimmed the surface, but she still liked to show off that scrap of talent. Looks-wise, she was nothing special, fair-skinned. A modest glow of refinement. I'd felt something for her once, but later she turned into a nagging copy of Sterling, and even that faint charm evaporated. Eat first. You've been out all day. She took my coat with practiced ease and headed for the bathroom. She insists on hand-rinsing everything before the machine, probably because the extra labor soothes her. I tried talking her out of it twice. Useless. She swears it comes out cleaner. Maybe she's still stung by Sterling's old jab that she never got clothes truly clean. Who cares what the old woman says? Why grind that axe forever? Ethan. Rough day. She must be bored washing alone. Tossing me small talk. Not really. Come and eat. I pushed the food around. Irritation bubbled up for no reason. I could already picture her obliging smile. You go ahead. The weather's lousy. Clothes can't sit. That's what the washer's for. My voice went mechanical. It doesn't clean well. Predictable answer. This time, though, it felt loaded. I finished before she sat down and bolted for the bathroom. I didn't have the patience for her slice-of-life monologues. Tiny incidents spun into sagas. She used to have a job. She quit to prep for pregnancy. Low pay, long hours. Quit now. Find something better after the baby. Something like that. And she agreed. Boy or girl, which do you want? She floated in make-believe futures. One that looks like you. I tossed it off. I know what she wants to hear. Sometimes I can't be bothered. Like right now. She stood at the foot of the bed choosing a nightgown. High-spirited. Lifting one then another. Finally fingering the sheer lace one. Which looks good? Ethan? I raised my eyelids halfway. Mediocre. With your hands. Everything looks mediocre. She got mad. Grabbed whatever, and stormed into the bathroom. I didn't go after her. We're long past the puppy love years. She sulked. Back turned. I gave her my back too. We always make up eventually. Late at night, I have zero energy for petty quarrels. Besides, I was stating facts. Yet she couldn't last. In no time she scooted closer. Next time, can't you say something nice? Warm silky skin touched my nape. I tilted my head a fraction. Voice flat. It's true. Forget it. I'll watch my mouth. Still unhappy, she tapped my shoulder. What do you mean? Forget it? I refused to feed the nonsense. She read the silence, pressed nearer. I rolled over, her breasts against me. That slipping scarlet shoulder strap flashed through my mind, an image dim yet persistent, sucked into the vortex. I brushed her skin and asked, half possessed, no bra tonight? Flushing, she yanked the quilt over half her face, eyes locking on me. She caught every flicker, biting her lip. She giggled and burrowed into me. What are you doing? I laughed too, hugging her tight as if she were some rare treasure. Without that beauty mark, she'd be even sexier than Linda. Plumper lips, always looked bitten and moist. And those gorgeous hands. Sometimes I think I ought to end the mess. Heidi's no angel. After all, what's on your mind? Heidi came out of the kitchen balancing a bowl of noodles. I stubbed my cigarette. Nothing. Thinking about you. Me? She arched a brow. Something elusive rippled across her face. I slurped a mouthful, then set the chopsticks down. She leaned over, tasted the broth. Tastes off. No, why leave that mole? I studied the dot under her nose, hardly a witch's mark, but like an ink blot on a painting. A flaw. She laughed softly. My ex-husband fought me over it every time. Still didn't get it removed? I was surprised. Even the X part barely registered. She sat, dragged the bowl over, wolfed the noodles, gulped the soup, slammed the bowl down, eyes steely. The last time he hit me, I ran. Pause. She lifted her hands, scrutinized them. My family sold me to the backwoods. These hands cracked every season. I waited for more. She only flicked her hair, stood, turned away. I ran a lot. Took ages to nurse these hands. Half facing me, she smiled. Haven't cooked in ages. You're the first to call them pretty. My mouth went dry. Sweat prickled my temples. They really are. I pictured Linda's desiccated radishes. How I left Heidi's place that day I no longer remember. I'm used to treating her studio apartment as a second home. There I smoke as I please. Study those hands without restraint. They should be medals of honor. Yet she lets me toy with them. No friends. No family here. Only clients. I must be the special one. From the day she was married off to the backwoods. She says. Her body stopped belonging to her. So she chose this path. I didn't ask. The answer sat quietly between us. I won't leave her. Not yet. I'm too lazy to untangle the knots. I won't discard Linda. Won't cut Heidi loose. A decade ago I'd have spat on a man without morals. But life is a net that strangles every breath. Must be happiness. Got everything except a sense of being alive. What day is it? Linda looked at me, delighted. I lifted the gift bag. Nothing special. Just figured you might need it. As a couple we've never had days worth anticipating. The rituals she wanted were only holiday decorations. She took the bag and stood motionless by the door for a long moment. From the corner of my eye I saw her eyes redden. I coughed. Uneasy. Just grabbed it. Might not be your taste. I'll love it, she whispered. I watched her set the package on the table like precious china, easing the ribbon off with slow reverence. The bows so complicated it made me dizzy. It was only a set of hand cream. Grumbling about the waste of money, she rubbed layer after layer with the greatest seriousness. Then those rarely glowing hands suddenly waved in front of my eyes. Well, look better, don't they? I stared at her in a daze. Years ago, I had honestly ached for the bitterness she swallowed while she was with me. Back then, Sterling, her father, never really warmed to me. To pull the two families together, we went through plenty of hardship. Her family wasn't filthy rich, but she was the only daughter in town. A third-tier city. Sure, still miles better than my rural roots. She had deep local roots. I was the village kid who'd tested into college. Without that degree our paths would never have crossed. Even half the down payment on the marital home would have bled my folks dry. Linda was willing to marry me, carless and houseless. Yet her parents wanted stability, house, car, the whole package. As Sterling put it, we raised our girl in comfort. How can she end up without even a roof that keeps the rain off? Fresh out of school, still stuck in a studio apartment. I didn't have that kind of cash, but Sterling urged me to lock the marriage down first. Once the rice was cooked, what could the family do? Truth is, the idea flickered through my mind. Yet watching Linda sleep I couldn't stomach it. Her job wasn't too demanding, so she handled everything at home. She endured her family's nagging while keeping our temporary nest in order. Day after day her hands grew more wrinkled. Holidays terrified me most. Every visit to her parents came with Sterling's scorn and lectures. I left early, returned late, grinding to build something. I kept wondering, how long could she wait? How long would this life drag on? Luckily the grind paid off. Life started looking decent. At last I could truly make her my wife. She walked toward me in that pristine wedding gown. Music playing the tune you hear at a million weddings. Eyes damp, bouquet trembling trembling in her hands. I was probably grinning like a fool as I hugged her, holding what felt like the most expensive gift on earth. We had a long future ahead. Then I sincerely meant to craft the perfect family. We had countless tiny quarrels, mostly her yelling and her making up with herself. It hit me. This woman now belonged to me, in every sense. Sometimes I teased that she nagged like Sterling. I never spoke the other thought. She'd also learned Sterling's habit of quietly giving in. Must be a woman's nature. When a woman stays buried in housework, she turns rough, petty, smelling of grease. She deserves kindness, yet it feels as if she, and even she herself, accepts that she isn't worth better. I never planned to dump her. At least, not until everything blew up. Heidi somehow found my office. That gloomy evening she stood at a dim corner, clutching a lunchbox. I glanced at WhatsApp. Her text popped up right under Linda's. Working late tonight? Hug life, you left your cafeteria card at my place. Probably tired of waiting. She'd come in person. Careless of me. Go home. I texted fast. Before she spotted me, she looked around. I felt her gaze pause and my heart jumped. Still, I was sure she wouldn't do anything crazy. Colleagues here knew me, and Linda, and I didn't want to become office gossip. From a distance, I saw her lift her phone. At a cat meme she must have saved. Then turn and leave. I exhaled, yet also thrilled at the danger, so I quickened my step to the car. Only after sitting inside did I check my phone again. No reply. Disappointed. Yeah, I answered Linda, then added, turn in early. Don't wait up. She was in a good mood, firing back a cat throwing heart sticker. Reassured, I headed for Heidi. I had to tell her not to surface in my daylight life. After the cafeteria card incident, the haze between us seemed to lift. Sometimes, like Linda, she asked about my evening plans. A hidden lover. After all, lover sounds too tender. Who keeps a girl who used to sell herself? Yet her place had become a private Eden. In the new apartment I rented for her, she stood on tiptoe, peering off the balcony. Below lay a pocket riverside where kids played in the sandbox. I found a new job, she said, turning to me, suddenly serious. The cigarette had nearly burned down. It scorched my finger. Otherwise, it feels like I'd dirty this place, she added quietly. Eyes on the park. Sunlight wrapped her in a warm, edgy glow. I almost laughed. Yet her WhatsApp name, Hug Life, flashed through my mind. She had a stubborn life force, tougher than the beauty mark on her lip. That spark, I guess, made me impulsively move her to a better flat. Still, paying hundreds each time to sleep in that cramped box, who knows how many before me, wasn't my idea of fun. Never imagined her new job would be cashier at the Fresh Mart near our marital home. Weekends, Linda hauls sacks of produce, groceries, and sometimes fresh-cut flowers for the desk vase at home. Last 2 weeks Linda kept saying the sour-faced cashier had quit, replaced by a friendly woman who'd even told her she was pretty. This weekend, for once, I had real downtime, no unfinished tasks. I thought of dropping by Heidi's, but since she'd started the job her free hours were only at night. Besides, hanging around her place by daylight gave me a knot of dread in my gut. So we flirted online, daytime cyber romance, nighttime trysts. Sometimes we did nothing. I just lay there watching her tidy up. She treated that flat like the true mistress of the house. I couldn't help teasing her. Her earnestness made me feel shallow, yet her earnestness was laced with playful seduction. I never found her boring. She was an ambitious strategist of affection and daily life. The mountain man who once owned her had let a raw diamond slip away. Ethan, come to Freshmart with me, please? After a light breakfast, just as I was about to flop back into bed, Linda tugged my arm, wheedling. She looked up, eyes shining, a rare swipe of lipstick on her bare face. Odd, since the cashier's compliment, she'd been grooming herself. The girlish spark long flattened by life flickering back. The refusal on my tongue melted. I nodded. Her smile burst out. She grabbed the trash in one hand, my arm in the other, and practically skipped downstairs. She knew every aisle, yet insisted on touring each section before heading to her usual spots. An afternoon slipped away. We pushed 2 heaping carts toward checkout. Since you're here I can stock up extra muscle, she chirped. I lacked her enthusiasm, mourning the lost chance to sprawl on the sofa, but kept quiet so I wouldn't spoil her mood and trailed after her. Scrolling my phone. Hi there, loyalty card number? The familiar voice jerked my head up. There stood Heidi in the company polo. Standard smile. Eyes sliding past me like I was air. I swiveled toward Linda, heart in free fall. 13. Linda rattled off, oblivious. In no time her cart was scanned. Hey, Earth to Ethan. Linda's voice yanked me back. Heidi beamed at me as at any stranger. Sir, tap or swipe. I steadied my voice. Tap. Paid. Bagged. And Linda even waved a cheerful goodbye. To Heidi, "That's the nice new cashier I told you about, sweet, right?" The whole ride home Linda chattered about their chat. How alike they thought. How the woman urged her to pamper herself. "Today's lipstick," she said, "came from that pep talk. Lady, you've got to love yourself." A sudden break cut her short. "What's wrong?" Bike shot out of nowhere. Almost clipped us. Heart leaping. I lied. "Okay. I'll hush. Drive safe, Ethan." Silence filled the car. The air felt thin, choking. These weeks of ease had made me forget. She was wild, not yet house-trained. She'd escaped the backwoods, sold her body before. At the memory of Heidi scanning our groceries, I ground my teeth. Tonight Linda was unusually playful, yet even she sensed my distraction. "What's up?" Her tone carried hurt. "Ashamed," I murmured. "Working late so much, I'm beat, just drowsy." She stared at me for a moment and finally answered, "Then go to sleep." Without looking at me again, she rolled over, turning her back to me. She was probably a little upset. I pulled her closer and tucked her into my arms. "You've worked hard too. Let's both get some real rest tonight." She didn't say anything, but after a while I felt dampness seeping through the shoulder of my t-shirt. "Sterling called again today, nagging about a grandchild," came her muffled voice from the crook of my arm. It sounded as if every scrap of joy she'd felt that day had been crushed by that single, weightless reminder. "Next time, let her talk to me," I said, already regretting that I'd heaped another scrap of ordinary misery onto our already ordinary lives. "She can't bear to blame you." Linda's tone lifted, just a fraction, and I exhaled in relief. Only after her breathing steadied into the slow rhythm of sleep did I cautiously loosen my arms and roll onto my back. I glanced at the phone lying face down on the nightstand. The screen stayed dark, as if nothing had ever happened. Embracing life. "I'm sorry. I didn't know. It really was coincidence. She's a very decent woman." I still hadn't replied to the message I demanded from Heidi while I was brushing my teeth in the bathroom. A very decent woman. The phrase amused me. On what authority was she handing out character references? I didn't care whether it had been deliberate or accidental. All I knew was that a puddle of trouble had been dumped into my tidy life, and I needed to mop it up. "Did you plan it?" I leaned against the headboard, lit a cigarette, and let time spool backward to the first day we met. She paused mid-fold, a sweater dangling from her fingers, and looked up, eyes drilling into mine. "Why would I gamble the only decent life I've ever had?" The glint in her eyes told me she meant it, so I let the question die. Her existence was climbing out of the muck and growing flesh. Mine felt like it was sliding deeper into the sludge. I told myself she ought to understand how much men dread the surprises that wait in the dark. I treated that last night as a final service. Goodbye. Ritual. I renewed the lease on this place for another year, I said, tapping ash into the tray. She sat on the edge of the bed, genuinely puzzled. "So are we continuing, or are we done?" "Honestly, she's a good woman. She just doesn't know how to take care of herself," I snorted, half entertained by her fake concern. "Get to the point. At the very least, she's not you." Heidi froze, dark-wet eyes locking onto mine. I knew the words had stabbed, but I couldn't be bothered to bandage them. Truth is truth. Explanations are decorations. "You're right," she murmured, dropping her gaze. "She's definitely not me." I stood, restless, desperate to be anywhere else. For a split second, Heidi overlapped with Linda, both fragile enough to crack under a stare. Nausea rose in my throat. They seemed born brittle, shattering over nothing. After that night we never met again. I only heard, weeks later, that the woman had quit her job. Linda never mentioned Heidi again. She probably never even learned her name before losing the rare friend she thought she'd found. Her friend had clawed her way out of the backwoods only to sell her body, then latched onto the first halfway reliable man and decided that counted as a starting over. Ridiculous. So much for their mantra of women must love themselves. Linda had definitely picked the wrong girlfriend. Watching Linda bustle around, I felt a bitter, possessive satisfaction bloom in my chest. "Hurry up and change," Linda called from the kitchen. "Your brother's almost here." "I know. Thanks, babe." I walked over and hugged her from behind. She had a plate in one hand, a spatula in the other, so she nudged me with her elbow. "Grease'll spit on you. Go." Apparently he's bringing his girlfriend. I chuckled, light-footed, and went to the bedroom to trade my t-shirt for something more presentable. I felt like I just diffused a landmine without breaking a sweat, and the new sense of control was intoxicating. Lately Linda's mood had lifted. She was turning back into the carefree girl she'd been before the wedding. Everything could reset. No. Upgrade. Life was going to be better than back to normal. Humming. I headed toward the kitchen to help carry the dishes. I never made it. The doorbell sang first. Ethan. Lee hadn't changed much since New Year, just a little rounder. I craned my neck past him. Didn't you promise to bring your girlfriend? Heidi went to grab the gift bag. She left it in the car. Lee grinned. Sheepish. I told her not to bother, but she insisted on making the best impression. Sounds like a keeper. I stepped aside and let him in. Lee started gushing about how attentive his girl was. The guy was clearly whipped. Did you tell Sterling? That was the part one cared about. Yep. Sterling says I'm already outperforming you, he boasted. Eyebrows dancing. I gave a non-committal smile. Better step it up, then, and lighten the load for me and Linda. Lee chuckled. Mission accomplished. Performance bonus included. We're 5 months pregnant. Didn't see that coming. No wonder Sterling had eased off the grandkid throttle. The kid had moved in silence. I punched his shoulder. Look at you. Actually, amount of dangerous warnings exceeded. It looks like you're repeating unsafe content. I'm convinced Heidi wouldn't be stupid enough to sabotage the only shot she's ever had at becoming a wife. She could plant roots in the city for good. Slip on a new skin. Live off a man's paycheck. Bounce a baby on her knee. If I could, I'd make her vanish forever. Watching her Nestle in Drew's arms, all dimples and delight, turns my stomach. What's up, Ethan? You've been staring at Heidi since we sat down. I stretch my lips into a grin that doesn't reach my eyes. Just wondering how his parents feel about your relationship. He sounds so formal. Heidi's fine. She tucks a strand of hair behind her ear. I lost my parents young. I make my own decisions. Drew squeezes her hand, shoots me a scowl. Quit digging up sore subjects. It's the 21st century. Marriage is a choice, not a parent trap. He starts to say more, glances from me to Linda, then clamps his mouth shut. All I can do is wait. Wait for their marriage to be carved in stone. Wait for whatever's in Heidi's belly to drop and prove whose DNA it really carries. I still don't buy that the kid is Drew's. She's never been the faithful kind. What I didn't expect was Linda's meltdown to arrive first. I dodge every chance of running into Heidi. Staying in control is safer than gambling on chance. Any ripple that might capsize my family isn't worth the headache, not for a woman like her. I keep telling myself Linda will never leave. Whenever she clashes with Sterling, she's the one who folds, pleading with those big wet eyes. She hasn't touched the piano in months, so I stay calm, leaning against the doorframe, watching her. Her fists tremble like she's about to drop through the floor. Her voice climbs higher each second. At first it's a whisper. Tell me it's not true, that you actually did those disgusting things? I don't answer. I'm not dumb enough to ask what disgusting means. Part of me wants to know who spilled. Part of me wants an update on Drew. Linda's just riding a mood swing. I reason. We could have handled this over coffee and spreadsheets. I need to check whether Heidi was boneheaded enough to doom her own bastard to social limbo, or whether she's simply a vandal who uses her womb as a crowbar. I keep my expression flat, but rage is popping like grease in my skull. The madder I get, the crazier she looks to me. So what if I did it? So what if I didn't? It's history. I want my orderly life back. If I were her, I'd never pick a fight this sloppy, pathetic, shrewish, zero elegance. A stay-home failure who can't even get pregnant and still blames Sterling for nagging. What right does she have to scream at me? Who'd want to stay in a house where one parasite bitches about another lower-grade parasite? Hell, in some ways Heidi's more independent, already sold and delivered. Yet I'm still expected to keep the goods comfortable. Linda waits for an answer that doesn't come, then yanks her own hair and wails, knocking magazines off the coffee table like they're not even there. The racket scrapes my nerves raw. Calm down. Can we just talk? I pinch the bridge of my nose. That word flips a switch. She spirals higher. Calm. With what? Give me one reason. My temples throb. Did Heidi tell you? Does Drew know? She laughs and sobs at once. Look at me. Really look. And you're asking about Drew. About Heidi? Because I need facts. I can't stare at you unraveling forever. Suddenly, she's silent, eyes drilling holes in me. You're cold. Nauseatingly cold. You know everything yet you only care about your own comfort. I light a cigarette just to give my hands a job. We're discussing Heidi. Stick to the topic. She erupts again, cursing the sky, the walls. Me, nothing coherent. Just gasoline on fire. Keep yelling. I'll go ask somebody sane. I exhale smoke. Her face warps through the haze. A strange relief leaks in. At least the hiding part is over. Damage control will be messier, but it's out in the open. If you still want this marriage, pretend you saw nothing. I tell her. I don't know how to comfort someone whose world just caved in. Later, when I get back, she's gone. When she reappears, she's carrying the marriage certificate, ready to divorce. She walks away with more than half of everything. Effortless piracy of the empire I'd hammered together. Part of me wonders if she and Heidi split the loot. Whether Heidi was her hired wrecking ball. Payback for every lecture Sterling ever gave. Drew's turned into into a righteous clown, parading grievances at the office, hinting at lawsuits, demanding hush money. I fantasize about dragging them all to jail. Heidi, Linda, Drew, frauds wrapped in halo lighting. My life's rubble. They're dancing on it. Shameless leeches, bottom feeders, jackpot babies milking the system. Heidi, side story, good thing you're on register today. The last cashier was such a grouch.
Yeah.
Looks like I'll be here a long while. My in-laws keep nagging me to pop out a kid, but my husband never backs me up. I wake up to my mother-in-law's baby mantra every morning. A woman's gotta love herself first.